Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to 207PBAnglers. It's been a while since the last time I uploaded. It's been at least a couple months around there. It's like, I think, the second week of October. But today we're going to be doing the 207PBAnglers Year in Review 2025 edition. It feels like yesterday since the last time I did one, this time last year. But it's basically going to be the same format. It's going to be talking about things we learned this year, things we did good, things we didn't do so well on, and what our plans are going to be for the 2026 season. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it, and let's get started. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is just what we did well on this year. Once again, I really think we hammered home the exploration part about it. Kind of me and my father talked about it over the course of the off season, as we call it, of what we wanted to do, and that was to explore more. I really wanted to explore Western Maine, as well as the Belgrade Lakes region, up past Augusta. I really wanted to explore that, and I think we accomplished that this year. Umbagog was also another great one. And that was probably the highlight of this year, was going to Umbagog. Sure, we didn't catch, the biggest fish at that specific location this year, but just the amount of fish, the scenery, the wildlife, I mean, it was just incredible. And plus, it was a camping trip on top of that. And it was just incredible. And I gotta say, out of all of the years that I had been filming for PB Anglers, that video was probably the most enjoyable to film and probably came out the best out of all the videos I did. And even me personally, I talked about it with my dad, and even he agrees with me that was probably the best PB Anglers video that I've ever made. And I think next year that's going to be really hard to top, just everything that went into it, the diversity of content, from the fishing to the locations that we went to, the cooking, the camping, the hiking. I mean, everything about it. I mean, it was just incredible. And even some of the other western lakes that we visited, the one where my dad caught that 19 and 3/8 inch bass at that lake that had that really big skiing mountain peak. I'm not going to say the name of it, but that was kind of an example of exploring kind of the western part of the state, which I think we'll do more of next year as well. The Belgrade Lakes, like I said, mentioned previously, I think that was a really good start to explore the region, because there was one particular lake that me and my father fished a lot, and we had a really big problem with milfoil, and it's kind of an issue to fish and also to navigate as well, because we were basically salad chopping the entire time. I'd like to revisit that lake, but just in a different location, where there's not as much milfoil. But no, I think that was just a really great part about this year, was just the exploration that we did, and as well as looking even further. We want to explore even further north, further east, probably out near the Bangor area, because I know there's a lot of good smallmouth and pike lakes out there. There's one in particular I really like out there that I want the opportunity to explore next year. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that was really kind of the big portion of this year, was just exploration. Another part about it this year was getting comfortable. This was my first year using bait casters, as well as my father. My father kind of stuck with the spinning reels a little bit more later into the season, but I found that I kind of mastered it right away. Right after I filmed the last year's video, I was actually out in my backyard in the freezing cold at night practicing using my bait caster, and I probably mastered it within 3 weeks. I was just casting and casting and casting and casting, and I got probably one or two really bad backlashes, but no, I mean, it really wasn't that difficult for me to master, especially when I was practicing every day after the gym, experimenting with different kinds of lures, different kinds of line. And I kind of found what I'm comfortable with bait casters, and I want to expand that next year. So yeah, that's something I'm really happy about this year. Even with my dad says he absolutely loves bait casters, especially with the DC reels. And he said he's probably not going back to spinning reels probably ever again. But spinning reels obviously have their place. I'll still use spinning reels for some of my lighter jigs, my Senkos, Ned rigs, and stuff of that nature. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the portions I really liked this year about us improving, us using different lures. Of course, I found a lot of success this year with chatterbaits. Chatterbaits just absolutely killed it this year. It did very well. Topwater was also much better this year than it was last year. Last year, I think a lot of it was just the summer heat, and us being able to not cover as much water as we did. And that's another good point that I want to mention is just our kayaks and just how much water we were able to cover this year. And just by doing 1 year of the Hobies, I don't think I'll ever go back to paddling ever again. I mean, just not only that, I mean, it's a great workout for your body, and my father loves it, I love it, and just the amount of water we're able to cover in just 1 day. 1 day, we're able to cover more than double what we used to with our old lifetime kayaks, and that is just such a huge advantage, especially when you're short on time. Like during this year, I was very limited. I mean, on time, not as much as last year, but I was still limited on time. Usually we'd have maybe half a day to fish because I would come up from school, with football and all that. So I was kind of limited on time. So we'd maybe be able to go out maybe for like 3 or 4 hours, and we were able to cover, 6 or 7, maybe 8 miles, sometimes 9 or 10. Like that one day we did out on the river for our first fall trip of the year. We were able to cover, I believe, 10 miles in like 4 hours, and that was just incredible to really witness. As well as our sonars, this was my first year using a sonar, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. My biggest thing was, water temperature, structure, and depth. That was kind of like the big thing why I wanted a sonar. As well as my father, he really loves his sonar. He's able to have like all the maps and stuff on there. So we're able to see like water channels, depth, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, yeah, that's basically what we really liked about this year. So as far as negative takeaways, I mean, it's really hard to say what was negative about this year because I guess we had just so many positives. We had so many great things to come out of this year. I guess limited time, but that's something that can be changed over the course of, your life and stuff like that. And this year, I believe we will have the time to really put in some effort for some longer distance trips. There's a lot of things that I want to do. There's a lot of things my father wants to do. And now I have the opportunity to do it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm really excited. I'm taking a gap year this upcoming year. I'm graduating from college. I'm going into I'm in my senior year, going into my last semester very soon. So, that's kind of what I want to do. I'll be in the outdoors a lot more, gain the experience that I need. I've never hunted before. I've never fired a gun. I want to learn how to fly fish. I think that would be, great content, as well as, expanding, the diversity of our content in terms of what we do. And that's kind of something that the Umbagog trip was kind of, pointing towards, the expansion of what we do on here. And I think that was a really good step in the right direction. I want to learn how to ride a snowmobile. I want to learn how to ride an ATV. I want to take my hunter safety course. I think that's stuff that's going to be really important for me, going into the job that I'm going to be working, and that's being a game warden eventually for the state of Maine. So I believe that this year is going to be a great opportunity to not only do that stuff, but to be able to produce, great content. And that's what me and my father have, really talked about over the course of this break that we're taking from fishing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the negatives. I mean, I really wouldn't consider it negatives, just things that basically happened over the course of, the past 3 months or so from the last video we posted to now. So I mean, I really wouldn't consider that negative, because I guess negative is kind of a derogatory term, but not derogatory at the same time. It's difficult to explain, but yeah, that's basically it for the negative portions of it. So now we're going to be talking about our best catches of the year. So my best catches of the year, my biggest bass as in plural, the two biggest bass I caught was the time I went up to camp at my aunt and uncle's place, and the Kennebec Lakes region was that 2-day trip I did. I actually caught twins. I really wouldn't consider them twins, but fish that were very similar. I caught I think it was like a 19.5 incher. I could be wrong. Maybe it was a little bit smaller, but it was around 19 inches. 3 pounds, 12 ounces. Caught it on a topwater frog. And I also caught the first 20 incher, the first and only 20 inch bass of this year on a chatterbait on a white I think it was a white half-ounce jackhammer I caught it on, and that was a pretty incredible catch. Catching that under a dock, that was pretty cool. First really big fish I've caught under a dock. Biggest smallmouth I caught this year was that time that me and my father went on the Androscoggin River in Saginaw County in, I believe it was July. I think it was mid to late July we went. It was just right after Independence Day. Like maybe a week after, and I caught my biggest smallmouth of the year on a Whopper Plopper 75, so that was pretty cool. It wasn't the heaviest smallmouth I caught, but it was one of the longest. I believe in 19.5 inches. I think that's the one I'm getting mixed up on. I could be, but I don't know. And then the biggest fish I caught ever this year was my 36-inch northern pike on that new river that was in Androscoggin County. That was incredible. I mean, I had so many pike follow my baits that day. And just getting one to commit on, this little 3/8 ounce KVD square bill was pretty incredible. That's one catch I'll probably never forget for as long as I live. I mean, my first really big pike. So that was pretty incredible. The biggest bass my dad caught was that largemouth he caught on that lake in the foothills of the White Mountains, up on that skiing lake, I guess to call it. Also caught on a white jackhammer. That was his bait of choice this year. I mean, he was just catching everything on that bait, everything on that white jackhammer. He absolutely loves that thing. He was catching he was catching smallmouth on it, he's catching pike, he's catching bass. I mean, he was just catching everything on it. And that bass was like 19 inches or something like that, but it was a super skinny fish. I think it was like at 3 pounds or just under 3 pounds. I don't think he caught much for smallmouth this year. I could be wrong, but I think his biggest was either at Umbagog or it was at the Androscoggin River in Saginaw County. I'll double check. I'll put like a little, like, I guess, thing on the video to be like, oh, this was the biggest he caught. Because I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. I mean, we caught so many fish this year. I was starting to lose track. I did the math on it. We caught like over 150 fish this year between all of our videos, which is pretty incredible. I mean, I wasn't expecting us to get that many, but his biggest pike he caught this year was once again on the Androscoggin River. I mean, the Androscoggin River was just absolutely incredible this year. Definitely a top tier fishery within the state of Maine. At any point, whether it's the northern part, the central part, or the southern part, it's just an incredible fishery. He caught a 32-inch pike. It was probably pushing around 7 or 8 pounds. Once again, a white chatterbait. Pretty much all of his best catches were on that white chatterbait, which was pretty cool. And once again, it's on his bait caster. And that's another thing I forgot to mention. was the use of fluorocarbon leaders this year. That was kind of big. You know, I kind of pushed my father in that direction, you know, kind of away from steel leaders and stuff like that. I'm not saying steel leaders are bad, but I think the use of fluorocarbon is just as effective, if not more so, especially with those heavier lines, like, you know, your 40, your 50, your 60-pound leaders, just to make sure those pike or those really big toothy fish don't bite you off. And you can also have braid to make sure you have strong hook sets, but you can also make sure you can have, you know, bite protection while having the stretchiness of fluorocarbons. So I kind of pushed him in that direction. And the way I set up my fluorocarbon leaders, you know, with the barrel swivel connecting the lines of the line, that was actually from a YouTuber that's another fisherman who uses Hobies out in Minnesota. His name is 207PBAnglers, so big shout out to 207PBAnglers. I've seen it in a lot of his videos, and I'm like, that seems like a really good idea. Because I tried tying Albright knots, and they were very, very difficult. And every time I would tie one, like in the beginning of the year, I would cast it, and then it would snap right off. And I would always tie that super, super tight. So I don't know if I was tying it too tight or too loose, or tying the knot big enough so it wouldn't go through the guides properly, and it was snapping off on the guides of the rod. So I don't know if that's what I was doing wrong, but, you know, it's a learning curve, you know, and I think that was really important. And yeah, that was kind of another portion I wanted to touch on really quick, was just the trout fishing this year that we did. I forgot to mention this in the biggest fish we caught, but you know, this year I caught my first lake trout, you know, as well as my dad. We both caught our first trout in our lifetime, so that was really cool. I think my biggest laker I caught this year was obviously at John's place, so that was all the lakers I caught this year. I think it was around like 21, 22 inches, so not a monster by any means, but a great start. And I did a lot of trout fishing in Massachusetts this year, specifically with rainbow trout. You know, I did it with Gio and Joe Sasso. In the beginning of the year, I think it was around like March. We were doing spring football at the time, so that was pretty cool doing that with them. And, you know, one day we're doing spring football, you know, we're doing spring lifting and all that, and then the next day, you know, we're going out and trout fishing. So that was a really fun time to do that with them. I think the biggest rainbow I caught this year was around like 15 inches. So once again, not a monster by any means, but it was really cool. And you know, this upcoming year I would love to catch my first brown trout, love to catch my first landlocked salmon, my first brook trout, and as well as my first muskie. So yeah, a lot of things, as well as my first striper. We were very close to catching our first stripers this year, me and my father, on the Androscoggin River in Saginaw County. So that was a pretty cool experience. But yeah, I mean, we're not just about bass and pike, you know, we're about, you know, other fish species as well. Even crappie, you know, that was a really cool catch that my dad had at the Pike Lake this year. You know, that 13-inch crappie, I mean, that was a giant crappie. I mean, and the first crappie we've ever caught in Maine, so that was pretty freaking awesome. As well as, I mean, I caught some pretty decent sized crappie in Massachusetts. You know, right. It was I think it was around the week before I left for a vacation I had in Mexico with my family. So that was really cool. I think the biggest I caught was like 11 inches or something like that. It was a pretty decent sized crappie. But no, that's basically the fish species that we caught that were other than bass and pike. Man. But yeah, so with all that being said, I'm going to show you guys some of the new goodies that we got that you can expect us to use next year. So let's take a look at that. And for me, this was one of my most expensive investments that I made this year, is that I invested in a pike and muskie bait casting rod. So what you're looking at here, this is a Daiwa Pro Rex bait casting reel specifically made for pike and muskie. It had a 7:1 gear ratio. It's a Pro Rex 400. I'm running 40-pound Power Pro Super Slick braid. I'm running that to a 60-pound fluorocarbon leader with a saltwater barrel swivel, and I'm running that on a 2-ounce inline bucktail spinner. Like I said, I'm going to be using this specifically for pike and muskie, and that's one of the big announcements that's going to be coming up for this year, is that me and my father have discussed it, and we are officially going to be going for muskie this year. at some point or another. It might be, you know, early spring, or not early spring, but maybe late spring, early summer. But that's probably when the black flies are going to be out, so we're probably thinking more towards late August, early September to go for muskies up there on the Maine-New Brunswick border, possibly up in the North Woods, at that particular lake, north of Moosehead Lake. So yeah, this was a really big investment for me, and I'm super happy I got it. I mean, I tested it with all my big swim baits made by Gold Belt Customs, especially that big trout glide bait I got that I posted on Instagram, and I just didn't feel confident with that big spinning reel I had. That might be more of a striper thing this summer, because I'm probably going to the North Shore of Massachusetts or the southern coast of Maine to go for striped bass with some of my friends from school. But yeah, once again, this was just a really big investment that I made, and I'm just really happy I got it. So yeah, let's look at some of the other investments that we've made over the course of, you know, this off portion of the year. So this is another one of our big investments that we made this year. We are going to be going ice fishing for the first time on our own. So this is going to be kind of similar to what we were doing with the Lifetime kayaks. You know, this is our first year really on our own, so we're going to be learning a lot over the year. Joe said he's probably going to come up at some point or another, you know, come ice fishing with us. We're going to be going out with John again on his trout and smallmouth lake, you know, learning about the basics. You know, we got a couple ice rods here. There's a nice little panfish rod I got for myself. You know, I'm running 6-pound fluorocarbon on there, as well as some of these bigger rods for bass and pike. You know, I'm running my 2500 series reel on here, attached with some duct tape and some snap-on stuff. But I also got some brand new ice traps from LL Bean in Freeport, Maine. These things are really nice for what they are. You know, I'm running like 20-pound ice braid on there. You know, I hooked them up, I think like 2 or 3 of them with steel leaders. I think another 2 with like 50-pound fluorocarbon for bass and pike. You know, we got some ice lures on there. I got some tungsten jigs. I got some jigging spoons, some cool baits that Joe gave me. Shout out to you, Joe Sasso. You're freaking awesome, man. And yeah, we also invested in a pulling sled. You know, at LL Bean, you got it for like $55. You know, pretty much all of this is probably like maybe $300 worth of, you know, fishing stuff. I mean, it was relatively inexpensive for the amount you got, which that kind of surprised me for what I found for ice fishing, was just how inexpensive some of the stuff was compared to like conventional fishing. So that was kind of a big surprise for me, but it was a pleasant surprise, you know. So like I said, once again, it's going to be a really big learning curve for me and my dad. You know, I'm excited to do it with, you know, some friends and family, and yeah, let's go see it. Let's go see what else we invested in. Now for me, this is a really big investment. This is my brand new Garmin EchoMap UHD 93SV, and this is live scope capable. So I'm probably going to hold off on the live scope for this year. Now, I know live scope can be a bit controversial, as some people think it's cheating and stuff like that. But for me personally, I'm going to be using it as a tool to kind of help me out, because I think deep water fishing for me is kind of the part where I struggle the most. And I think if I can get live scope, I think that's going to really help me to understand how to fish deep water, where to look. And I think a lot of places, you know, like the Pike Lake of Androscoggin County, you know, I think you guys have seen the videos on how green the water is. It's like you can barely see anything down there. So I think that's going to be a great place to learn how to use live scope, especially, you know, in lakes like that where the water quality is very low, or the visibility is low. So I think that's going to be a great investment. As well, it's just bigger. You know, my Garmin Striker was, you know, I think it was only like a 2 or 3 inch screen or something like that. It was very small. So I'm going to be using that for ice fishing this year. If I can get this box open, I can show you guys what it looks like. So this is the screen. This is what it looks like. So as you can see, it is much bigger than the old screen. And just for reference, you place it right here. And that is a massive, massive difference. I mean, sometimes I would be squinting at my sonar because I could barely see it, and sometimes the glare would be just unbearable. Like it was just very difficult to see. You know, I picked it up for a Black Friday sale. It was originally around like $1,100. I picked it up for like, I think like $800 or $899 or something like. Yeah, it was like $900 that I picked it up for. So it was pretty inexpensive for what it is. Plus with it's live scope capable. So if I wanted to go down that path of using that, I can do that, but I think I'm probably going to hold off a little bit for this year. You know, Black Friday shopping, Christmas shopping for my friends and family is pretty dang expensive. So I think that's something I'm going to be holding off on probably until maybe next year or so, when, you know, my finance can be a little bit tighter, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the things we've invested in for now. I have to get my seat fixed for my compass. I haven't gotten that fixed. So the video that I did with Joe when he came up here, my seat actually blew up on me, and I had to use like a small bolt to hold my seat in, and it's pretty much been like that for the entire year. But I mean, I've managed, I guess. I mean, I still have to talk to the guy about it, who sold me this kayak. So I still have to speak with him to make sure, you know, my seat, I can get a brand new seat. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it for what we've invested in and what things have changed and what you can expect from us in the upcoming. Oh, good morning, everybody.
The spot is like hidden in plain sight.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Androscoggin County. So, do you remember when I said that back in October that last trip with my father would be my last video for the year? Yeah, I kind of lied. So, I'm out here on the Little Androscoggin River. It's a tributary of the bigger Androscoggin. And I'm going to be learning how to fly fish. I'm with a friend of mine, Aaron, from Shaker Hill Outdoors. We'll get a more proper introduction when we're down there. But he's going to be teaching me how to go for trout. And I don't think I've ever fished this late in the year in my entire life in terms of open water. So I'm anxious to learn, as I've never done something like this before, and I thought it would be cool. And on top of that, I also want to wish everybody here a happy Thanksgiving, and hope you all are spending good quality time with your family and friends, having some good food, watching some football, as the Thanksgiving Day games are tomorrow. So yeah, we're gonna get down to the river. I've never been here before. I've always driven past it because I worked over there doing a siding job this past summer with my father, Chris and Gage. But I've always driven across this bridge, and I never even knew how to get here until now. So this is really awesome. But we're gonna continue to hike along this trail over here, and we'll see you when you get there. So that's how it works. Just,
you know, you can do without double hauling, or you can do it with double hauling. It's another step for beginners because it's kind of not like traditional
right.
casting. I find that it does make a difference. And it's weird for me not to double haul. So that I gave you that rod because I find that this fly line is, at the end of this year, it'll be 2 seasons old.
Okay.
And it's more of a thing with fly line than like changing your reels on, changing your line on spinning reels or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what gives you all the sensitivity, and this is what you're casting with. So
Okay.
all screwed up and roughed, and it won't go through the guides as smoothly, and you'll lose a lot of distance.
That makes sense. I always thought it was the leader that gave you that sensitivity.
Yeah. So that 4-weight that 4-weight's new to me. I put the setup together in August. So that line.
So it's pretty new.
3 months old, and I find that it goes through the guides better than this line.
Okay. All right, this is my buddy Aaron. Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Aaron. I fly fish. I've been fly fishing for about a year now, maybe a little more. It's what I love. I grew up conventional fishing, and I moved to Maine and did this, and it's been my preferred way of fishing ever since. I tie my own flies. White Pine Fly Company on Instagram. I do very small orders, and we're fishing with them today, and I'm teaching Gavin how to fly fish, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, let's go get him, man.
I have a ton of fly line out, and it looks really excessive, but like this amount of fly line will get me to the very our edge of that waterfall right there.
Really? Holy crap. That's so cool. Wow, that's crazy.
I still have like...
You have a fish? Oh, you snagged?
You know, I'm gonna get that later. This is like my third time wearing these waders, and I always forget that I'm wearing waders. They're nice, they're cheap, but I think for how many times I use them, it was worth it. Like, I didn't buy $700 pair of Sims waders because I didn't need them.
Right.
And from what I've heard, the Sims waders aren't that good anymore. The quality is gone.
Alright, so this is going to be my first time attempting to cast a fly rod. I wonder how this is going to go. Okay, so I think this is... I look like a total amateur doing this. Oh, no. I screwed up. Well, the first attempt didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to, but...
Now that'll feel a lot better.
Okay, so try it again. Try to bring my line up a little bit, just to... I think that's what my problem was. I had a little too much line out. Oh, what the heck? Why does it keep,
Pull the bottom. There it goes. It'll work itself out. So you want to have your bottom hand. What hand do you normally?
Like I'm right hand dominant.
So you hold your rod with your
right hand.
Right hand.
Yep.
So have your off hand hold the line.
Oh, so kind of like this. Okay.
And then you can do all your stuff, and it'll still slip through your hands.
So you just kind of
down there when you
make like
so I hold it like
kind of like that.
Yeah, I just hold it like this, and it'll slowly work itself out as you cast longer and longer. It'll do this out of your hand. So you want to have it tight enough on your first couple back and forths that it doesn't slip out to build the momentum.
Okay.
But then after that, you want to have it like lightly slipping through.
Oh, I think that's also a problem. I need to make sure the leader line is out so the line doesn't get caught in the guides.
Big of a deal as long as like what happened the first time when it made like those two loops under it. That's what happens when it's out, when all the line is back in. But even like that, if you tried to cast now, that'd cast right out.
All right, I'll give it another try, see how it goes. I mean, I gotta make sure I'm not stepping on the line here either.
That's not that bad. That was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be the first time. So when you go back, try to keep it. It's hard to explain and not like do it. So when you go back and count like 1 in your head, and then go forwards and stop and count 1 in your head. And it's all about that stop, that steady, hard stop is what carries your fly line out back and forth.
All right, I'll give that a try, see how that works. Okay, so I'll give it a try. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's not terrible. Oh yeah, I gotta go on the other hand. So. This feels like so alien to me. It's just, it's nothing like I've ever done before.
It's a learning curve, but I found that I got used to it fairly quickly.
Fairly quickly?
I think it was like my 3rd time going out.
Okay.
It was like, oh, I'm actually doing this. It feels how I'm supposed to be doing it.
Just kind of letting it take it a little bit. I'm gonna wrap my line over just like that. Might be something right near this rock over here.
You're picking that up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I was just doing as you told me, just count to 1, make sure my line's straight, watch it. Give me a shoulder workout too.
Yeah. Even on days like...
Me and Aaron tried this spot for a little bit. I did have a couple bites around this area right here, but no true big takers. Well, that's okay. We're gonna move downstream a little bit. But no, I think I'm getting this fly fishing thing down. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert, but we're gonna keep working for it. We're gonna try to see if we can get some more fish. Or any. But I'll see you guys in the next stream a little bit. Jeez, some crawlies. That's freaking crazy. Oh, this is really pretty. Yeah, you mean you're what? Ankle? Yeah, you're like... You're at what, your ankle? That's freaking crazy. Let's try to see if I can get through here a little bit. Let's see how cold the water is. Woo! That is chilly. That is chilly. That's cold water. That is really cold. My klutzy self will probably fall in at some point. I don't doubt it. I mean, probably should bring that up a little bit. Of course, it's caught on my camera. Oh, there it is. Got it. At least it's easier than getting a treble hook out. Let's see if I can get a little bit deeper. Oh, that current's strong. I can get through probably around... Woo! That's probably right at my limit right there. That is right at my limit. Yep, that's my limit right there. I don't have a net on me, so if I catch a fish, I'm pretty screwed. But no, this is fine. The water's actually nice and refreshing. We didn't have luck at this pool either, but is it a really beautiful river out here. But we're gonna head down the trail and hit a couple more pools, and we'll see you at the next spot. Stickfish. At least I got something today. Nice stick. That's a beautiful stick right there. That's too funny. You don't have to tell Mr. Maris about that.
Oh, that water's so cold.
That's really cool looking, man. I thought you came through this way. Did you not?
I came on this side of the rocks.
Be careful, jeez 'em.
I really want a wading staff, which is like a fancy. It's basically a trekking pole, but for this, so I can feel what's in front of you. But even the cheap ones are like $50, and I feel like I could just buy a really cheap trekking pole and use that. Especially here, like I'm having to lower myself down into this.
Woo! You're brave. You are brave.
I'm brave, but I'm not cocky. I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. I spoke too soon.
Wow, that is a big shell.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
This is one of the...
That's probably a...
This turtle's probably...
I'd say 20 pound turtle. Wow.
Even the shell.
The shell is heavy. Wow, look at that. Yeah. That is so cool. There's a little bit of meat left on there, but not much.
That's like a tendon right there.
Yeah. Take that good power washer.
Yeah.
Soap and water. Clean that up.
Hard bristle brush.
Hard bristle brush.
It's a tongue twister. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this tucked under that undercut. Not that anything's gonna pinch it, though.
No, I don't think it will.
That's wicked cool.
That is awesome, dude. That is a great find.
I was like, that kind of looks.
So when Aaron was fishing, he managed to find this gem. She's gonna be taken home with him. We estimate it's about a 20-pound snapping turtle shell. He found it. That is a trophy right there, man. That is awesome. If we don't catch anything, that makes the day right there really cool. Yeah, this is pretty shallow over here.
So all of that up there, where that grass is, was this tall and stinging nettles. And
really?
It's all dead now. So
wow.
you can probably fish up there. There's a lot of room back of you to cast up there.
All right.
Like just drop a few into like right around that bend.
All right, I'll go take.
I'm gonna try to get.
I'll go take a look over there and see if.
I'm gonna try to get to that big island rock right there.
Not a bad idea. Let's do it. It's really. Well, folks, that's gonna wrap it up for today's trip. Even though we didn't catch anything, it was still cool learning to fly fish and be out here with Aaron for the first time. It's the first trip we've done together, so we'll have to do some more fly fishing trips in the future, and I'll have to take him up north to go catch some monster pike. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today's trip. Thanks for watching the 2024 year in review, even though this is a little bit longer than usual. But I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas. The 2025 PB Anglers trailer will be up sometime after the new year. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys next year.